A lot of the clients that I worked with one-to-one happen to be already successful business owners and entrepreneurs. And I have seen each and every single one of them tell me that their success increased to degrees that they hadn't seen before once their appearance reached the level that I guided them to. And why is that? How does that even happen? Well, in simple terms, it comes down to first knowing that people are more likely to want to associate with you, more likely to want to network with you, more likely to want to get to know you properly. And what do you do with that? I also taught them how to leverage their looks. Once you know how to leverage your appearance, use your already seen capacity to succeed in one aspect of life and then translate it with regards to your appearance, life becomes so much smoother. The friction in life, the blandness in life, the black and whiteness of life, where there is no color, there is no taste, life is friction. It all switches. And how does it switch? Like I said, it no longer becomes bland. It becomes full of flavor. It becomes a full spectrum of color. Now, improving your appearance is going to be so much simpler when you have already seen success in life. When you haven't seen success, it becomes so much harder. And that's why actually giving your appearance everything you have, actually deciding my appearance is the bottleneck, not something with regards to what I've seen time and time again with the people I work with. It's not something now in your business that's holding you back. It's not needing to track more KPIs. No, it's the main performance indicator that you show to the world, your face. And when your face is the key distractor, instead of something good in life, instead of seeing success in your life, your face takes it away and people have a subconscious reaction of thinking, why does this guy look like that? Well, guess what? You're only making your job harder. And if you know that this is a possibility, you have seen the level of change that I have brought about in every single person who gave this their all, committed to working with me, then how is there an option for you to go the rest of your life, the one and only life you have, to basically just do nothing, to basically allow your appearance to hold you back and to just allow yourself to remain in the same position, stuck, helpless, and feeling like there's nothing more you can do? Earning more money, building a better body, buying a nice watch isn't what's going to change your life. But I'll tell you, from my own life experience, what changed my life wasn't having more money. It wasn't having more pleasures. Instead, it was actually changing my perception of myself, which led to, through consistent inputs and output, that changed how my life is going now. The trajectory of my life changed because my face remodeled. And that remodeling is purely in your hands. Only you can put the required inputs in. Only you can do what's necessary. So what are you going to do? What is necessary for you to do from now onwards? Well, it begins with understanding that the way you are in the mirror isn't the only way you have to be. You want change. You want your external to remodel, to become the genetic potential of yourself. Well, guess what? The exterior follows the interior. And if your inside isn't reaching where you think you could be, isn't reaching where you should be, then guess what? Your outside will never. So the first actionable step, every single day you need to begin meditating. 2 minutes is all you need to give. Second, you need to be leveraging facial muscles. We want to remodel bones. Well, bones are determined by muscles. Think about tennis players. I often give an example of tennis players. Why are one of their arms seen to have stronger bones than the other? Well, correlation with which arm they dominantly play tennis with. Because the stronger that the muscle is, the more that the muscle in question is used, the more the bone is going to experience force. Same thing with the cranial bones. The bones around the face are going to be influenced to a huge degree by the tongue, the masseters, the lips, and every associated muscle that functions in between them. So how are you going to leverage? How are you going to ensure that you leverage these facial muscles? In short, just mewing isn't enough. Forget about just doing skincare, just getting your hair cut. Just mewing simply isn't enough. At this age, it comes down to doing more. At this age, it comes down to putting all of the inputs you can possibly put in, so the output is the life that you know you are capable of living. The tongue sits here. And if we really think about this, this is going to be a cross-sectional diagram from the middle of the face. We'll notice that the tongue is what supports everything above. And what is everything above? Everything above is what determines your looks. The maxilla, the cheekbones, the nose, the infraorbital rim, your eye socket, the supraorbital. Guess what? What sits below the tongue is going to be the jaw. The jaw alone accounts for how confident you look, for how credible you are, and your first impressions. The tongue, masseters, and lip muscles, just these three muscles, determine so much. And what have you done to actually go about leveraging them? You can leverage all you want with regards to your professional life, but you're not leveraging something that underpins that and so much more. Your looks doesn't just underpin success in the business world. It underpins your own perceptions of yourself. And guess what your own perceptions of yourself underpins? Everything in life. This is also a proven fact. What you believe about yourself is what you give off to the world, is what you actually achieve in life. The person who doesn't believe that they can do XYZ will never even bother doing it. And as someone who has already seen success, I'm sure you have, you are going to know full well that this is a fact, that you cannot for even a moment hesitate in your capacity to get XYZ done. And if you do hesitate, it's not going to work. Even if it does work to a small degree, is that the capacity that you expected, that you know you are capable of? Of course not. Same thing with what I'm teaching. You and I full well know this. So what are you going to begin doing? What are you going to continue doing from what I've taught already? The tongue needs to pressurize. The tongue just resting isn't enough. We're not here to rest in this one lifetime we have. It comes down to refining meticulously every single thing that we have, our looks being the most important aspect. Look at the tip of the tongue. The tip of the tongue has to rest just behind the tip of the tongue. Look at the difference. This needs to pressurize at roughly this angle. Visualize that the force is traveling towards the tip of the nose. That's how you need to visualize it. Then you need to simultaneously pressurize at the midpoint of the tongue. This needs to pressurize more so upwards. When you can have these two force vectors pressurize the roof of the mouth, let's think about what happens. In simple terms, we're signaling to the bone through a process called mechanotransduction that the bone needs to remodel. And look, all of this bone is yellow. It's one bone complex. It's called the maxillary bone. That bone is going to remodel since the force is going to travel through the bone. We can think of the bone as being a medium and the force as being a wave. The wave needs a medium to pass through. But the medium in question can and will remodel as it's biologically alive. How does it remodel? Well, over time, given that you actually decide to take action and that we have a clear understanding of your bone anatomy, we can actually map it out. We can understand where your current standing is, what you have and haven't done. Then we can take the next step in understanding how to align the force traveling through the bone so the bone remodels in a manner that we want. For example, if you're lacking mid-face projection, it's not about just magically bringing this forward. That's not possible. But what is possible is going to be making the bone here thicker. And the bone here is thicker. Guess what? It is the equivalent to having what we originally needed. That is how bone remodeling works. If you have understood just from this example how different your life could be, and if you have seen for yourself how different my life is now, then take action, look at the link in my description, and potentially be invited to work with me directly one-to-one.